And welcome back, everyone, to Long Island Splat 4. Here I am, Acid Sunshine Melissa, joined by Hangman. So, how you feeling so far?
Feeling pretty good. We've been seeing some pretty impressive play so far. And it's just been a pretty fun event. Like, there's a very casual mood to today's Long Island Splat, but the gameplay shows a different story. Like, we're seeing everyone armor up for, like, pretty proper play now.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's always nice when we run the locals because our local scene has gotten pretty big out here, and we see a lot of really friendly faces. It's always fun to, say hello to the people that you get to play with online all the time, but maybe not in person. So I think that's amazing. But then you're right. The level of play today has been wonderful so far. So I think it's going to continue. We're going to keep seeing it going today. Cold-blooded Krillerz versus Pythonic. So I'm really interested to see how Pythonic plays because they're a team that I've never been able to watch before. So I'm super excited to watch them. They're going to be playing Rainmaker on Sturgeon Shipyard to start. So how do you feel about this one?
I feel like this is a very aggressive combination. Sturgeon Shipyard Rainmaker is the kind of combination that lends itself very well to how well a team can control firefights, how well they can ink down, how well they can really just keep a lock on the enemy team, because there's a lot of points where this map can just be reversed on very quickly. There's that avenue to the left that you can bring the Rainmaker, and it doesn't have a lot of cover, which lends itself to open deaths very easily. But then the other avenues of bringing to the podium also have a lot of high ground, depending on how well a team positions itself. We could be looking at a very bloody game one.
I completely agree. I think Rainmaker on Sturgeon can be kind of slow at the very beginning until you get that opportunity to just make that push. So I'm really interested to see what they decide to do today and what each team brings. A Squiffer.
I saw Brella, too. All right.
Okay, here we go.
I like what the green team is packing. This is going to be a very interesting fight ahead of us.
I think that is Pythonic on that side.
Cold-blooded Krillerz coming in with a very similar set that we had seen previously. I think the only thing of note is the Tony Ketsa Slosher. We'll see if that has any big effect as we move forward. As Cold-blooded Krillerz breaks first blood with getting the point initially, but they're not really able to go too much further than center stage as they don't really have much inked.
Yeah, they didn't really pave the way for themselves. I think they didn't anticipate being able to push that far forward at that point, as much as that's not very far. 85 is not a big lead, but just that they weren't really looking to be able to move so far up. So I think right now, really it's about, Pythonic is waiting for an opportunity to begin to move this point back to mid and beyond.
Nothing particularly damaging about the baller, able to roll forward. He didn't have anywhere to go. I feel it was a really good lockdown from the combination of the Inkjet and the Blob Blobber. And CBK trying to maintain their lead. They're taking it up the left side, but like I said earlier, it invites itself to a lot of opportunity for picks.
Yeah, that's actually kind of the most known route that a lot of people tend to take here, but it looks like Chris is going off, gets one pick with the sloshing machine, was able to kind of help with an assist there too, and really has this area paved. I'm waiting for this Lays to come out and, really like just an opportunity for the rest of the team to be there.
Picked right out of the sky. That's one of the things I found so jarring in the current meta. With the Booyah Bomb offering so many iframes, you're so safe during its activation, and then the splashdown just sort of leaves you there, vulnerable and out in the open. Kind of a shame.
Interesting place to burst the ball there for Pythonic. That Brella doing a couple things to make some nice cover. Getting 3 down on the side of Cold-blooded Krillerz. This is an opportunity that Pythonic needs to really push that Rainmaker, but I'm not sure where the Rainmaker carrier is. Playing it a little safe by going a little bit slowly.
Getting a pick on Ulti before getting popped, I think is a fairly solid trade, especially 3 down on CDK once again.
Yeah, this is really where they're kind of like waiting. This is what they've been waiting for. Just trying to stay alive here with that Rainmaker. It was only a matter of time till Mist did get that pick.
And it's not afraid to get close up and dangerous with the Blob Blobber, it seems. One thing's also really solid on this map, just because there's a lot of room for you to be able to cover, and then once you get into those close quarter fights, a lot of the geometries on Shipyard lend itself incredibly well to just covering a lot of space.
Yeah, I think this is where Mist is kind of trying to decide where is the rest of the team positioned, which direction should I be going for this here. Decides to kind of go up mid, but still, getting that don't retreat, waiting for, every time that message comes up, the clock ticks a lot faster for carrying the Rainmaker. So really not what they were going for when you're being a little bit indecisive on where to go.
Yeah, cooking the timer, not the best type of strategy, especially on this map, just because a lot of effort needs to be pressed for moving forward, and we see the Rainmaker reset. I think it was a really solid idea. It is now sitting in a central position. Look at how even the scores are. There's hardly a lead sitting in Pythonic's favor.
Yeah, I think that this is really where Cold-Blooded Krillerz has an opportunity to really push forward and take the lead. They don't have a lot of points they need to move it in order to get that, and this is where they're going. They're definitely making their way towards that, moving pretty quickly. I'm not sure who took out the Rainmaker carrier, but it's definitely something that, you know, needed to happen. The Rainmaker's in the exact same position it was before the reset, too.
One thing I think that really needs to be appreciated with Pythonic is how consistent they are with making the battlefield even for themselves. They're either going even or positive on trades when it comes to these firefights, and they're not getting greedy with the advantage that they're leading.
Yeah, this is where it's really going to be tough for Pythonic because they did have 4 down just there. So, you know, as they're all respawning, this is the opportunity for Cold-Blooded Krillerz to really take control. Getting is that a delayed quad from Chris?
Ooh.
Chris is popping off here. Look at this over and over again, getting those beautiful picks from that slashing machine. Really made it possible for his team to push Rainmaker all the way to 4. Beautiful.
And on a map like this, 4 is an incredible lead. It's going to be very difficult for Pythonic to push this back. However, 30 seconds left on the clock, and their team is fairly well organized. This is a very doable run back, especially if they can get a similar team wipe to what CBK established.
Yeah, this is absolutely wonderful. You know, this is where Pythonic really needs to push forward. They decide to take that right-hand path the same as CBK did before, and I think that this is pretty good for them. They just need to really be ready. Oh, they're going up the sponge, and this could be the lead. Oh, so close.
Once again, missed clutching it out in extreme close quarters. It's going to be all that they need for CBK to take game 1.
Beautiful job there, though. The level of play for that match was absolutely wonderful, too. I think that really what sealed the deal for CBK at the end was getting that quad, and just having no one around to respawn and defend is what they were able to get all the way to 4. So, absolute beautiful push.
As earlier predicted, this was a very aggressive match, and we saw that in a lot of plays, even from early on. The Squiffer actually showed itself to be a very valuable weapon to this team comp, I feel, because a lot of what we saw out of Pythonic was they were very mobile. They were able to dive in, establish a point of control, and then try to fight evenly. And a lot of those fights were even, but the one and main point we saw where it changed was that that full team. Yeah, Chris snapped, just straight up.
Here we go. All right, 1, I'm going to count them out. So 1, getting Gundam. Chris using the Fizzy Bomb.
Shake it up. It kind of offers a little bit of coverage and more paints
2.
the way than anything else. Gets that pick on the side, go for another one. Let's see it.
The solo is so helpful. 3 with Catnip. I think they get 2 more with this splashdown, right?
Yes, the ever
4.
difficult task of looking upwards.
5.
Paints demise for Pythonic as kill after kill, Chris establishes so much control. And while they didn't get the shutout cap there, it's just an overall solid play.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful work. Catnip really did have it going. If Mist wasn't right there to stop that push, I think Catnip could have got a few extra points, but in the end, I don't think they would have been able to push it all the way to 4 and dunk it out because too much of CBK was right there.
It was really good awareness on Pythonic's part. However, I feel like in an odd turn of events, they pushed too hard against CBK because CBK ended up having to fall back as a team right where that sponge leads up to. So a bit of a misplay in the end, but honestly, really good play from both sides. And as Game 2 brings us into splat zones on Macamore.
Hey, guys, I have to interrupt the broadcast because we just got a donation.
A
To the
donation.
channel.
Nice.
So Melissa Faith tipped us $5 and says, "To Chris from Humboldt, Water Gang, and the Suns, we love you. Great work out there. Come home and grind rank." Thanks for your donation.
Fantastic. So that's absolutely wonderful. Thank you guys so much for supporting the stream and for everything that we're doing today.
We in Gen Game love to give back to the community, and we love it when the community shows that faith back to us. So thank you very much. And we return to our regularly scheduled infighting as we go to Macamart Splat Zones. And honestly, Melissa, I'm looking very forward to this game, especially with what Game 2 brought to us, because I feel, given this particular map mode combination, we are once again, I feel, going to see a lot more of aggressive play, particularly because of the high zones. We're seeing a very different layout of weapons from Pythonic's favor, a lot more traditional in what we're looking at, and think we're going to be seeing a lot of picks on both sides once again.
I completely agree. I'm so happy that Cold-Blooded Krillerz decided to stick with this Bloblobber. They're showing that, it's not only a really fun weapon to play, but it does have a lot of uses. Mist had been really getting a lot of great picks in that last match, so I'm interested to see how they do today. This Blaster fight off, unfortunately, Pythonic just did not get what they wanted here. So it looks like this Mazquao is pushing forward. So this is really where you have to be afraid of those blasters that can just pop up and get the couple of picks that they need. And, just really be ready to take them out when they can.
Yeah, well, I haven't brought it up whenever we see the spectator focused on Maz. I do want to bring up that Maz has done an excellent job with retreating fire with the blaster. And whether it's been direct hits or just covering wherever the enemy wants to trace, I think he's done a really good job of being able to cover himself. Nonetheless, bringing the point back to where we're looking at, CBK loses control of the point. Pythonic trying to press forward, although they're not pressed too deeply yet. I feel like CBK is doing a really good job of forcing Pythonic to be entrenched right on the point. And as a traditional line of thought for spot zones, you don't want to defend on the point. You always want to press forward deeper into the enemy territory so that if you end up losing that firefight, you still have a lot of room to fall back on.
I completely agree. I think also the further you can push the enemy up, then the longer they have to come back to that zone in mid. So if you are in control and you push as far as you can into their base, then, unfortunately, if your team gets wiped, they have a lot of way to now move forward back to zone. So you're absolutely right. Chris doing a good job to jump out, make sure that they can stay alive. There's a penalty on both sides, so this is really going to help maintain the lead for Cold-Blooded Krillerz, and they don't really need to be as aggressive right this moment as they had been.
While the points lie in favor of CBK right now, I feel it's worth noting this is very even-handed. Not as many penalty points on Pythonic, and Pythonic's able to continuously force the lack of control on the map.
Absolutely wonderful job here. Looks like, they're just kind of waiting and going back and forth. Every so often, we're getting these picks like one after the other, 2 down on both sides. So really no one can paint the zone quite enough to be able to take control.
Very interesting decision. We have the member on Pythonic who was uncontested in their control of the point, did not start inking until he had backup. And I feel like that was a really solid choice just to show the coordination of the team that they don't want to try and force the hand of their enemies until they're ready for the response. And I think that type of awareness is something that really needs to be appreciated in Splatoon play because there's so many little factors to keep in mind for it.
Yeah, I think that that's very true. But this is really where Pythonic has an opportunity to take the lead here. I think they've been getting a couple of really good picks. This player with the Japanese characters is doing really well, trying to move forward, making sure that they're, getting everything that they can, getting a nice pick off of Uncle. Unfortunately, they do go down to Chris's sloshing machine, who's just doing so much work. The machine goes out just before they can get that splashdown out.
A minute and a half left on the clock. These specials are coming out, and it's worth noting Pythonic is going for very selective picks. They're trying to take out a lot of the more forward-handed players on CBK, and it's working out really well for them, especially as they maintain 19 points. CBK gets the point back in their control, putting some decent penalty points down, but I think they're going to have to go for the shutout right here and now.
I completely agree. I think this is really where Cold-Blooded Krillerz needs to maintain zone. They've pushed pretty far forward. You have Chris with their sloshing machine that's been doing so well so far, really pushed as far forward, but has no support from the rest of the team. So unfortunately, if Chris does go down, it's not going to be as useful for them, and they do. So this is really where Pythonic, if they want to maintain their lead, need to take the zone, and they do. Beautiful play by Pythonic.
This is dire straits now for Cold-Blooded Krillerz. Considering the amount of penalty points they have on the board, they need a full wipe to establish map control now. Otherwise, this game is going in favor of Pythonic. And we've seen this in the previous game and throughout this one. Things are very back and forth, but really good coordination from Pythonic is forcing the hand of CBK.
Yeah, I think this is where CBK just needs to paint zone as fast as they possibly can. The bubbles coming out, the splashdown coming out, these are the specials that are going to do it. This rain kind of completely taking over zone and able to help them move forward. So this is good. I think now they're in a position where they feel like they can constantly get these picks and make sure that Pythonic can't come back in. They just need to work down breaking down that point.
They can just maintain control. Losing control right here is deadly for CBK. We see the bubbles come out. They just need a pop with the Inkstorm coverage, and Pythonic takes game 2.
Very, very interesting turn of events there. Those bubbles are so powerful when they're placed in the perfect, where you need them to be. Absolutely wonderful. And the rain, like you said, being able to pop the bubbles, perfect lineup of specials there. Absolutely what we're looking for from Pythonic in order to take the second game.
Ink Store and Bubbles is one of my favorite special combinations because it offers so much passive damage. Like, you're covering so well with ink without really even committing to what's going on. You're able to have all 4 members of your team press forward while so much ground is being covered. And as we look at a few of these replays of very aggressive picks back and forth, Maz with these deep picks out but getting hit out by the Inkjet, we saw this time and time again throughout this map, how a lot of these KOs were just going back and forth. There really was no opportunity for a team to swing one way or the other.
Yeah, I think this is actually one of the members of Pythonic is using my Switch. I was looking before and I'm like, oh, that's who I lend my Switch to. So that's kind of cool too, to watch someone use your character. Sorry, my little sidebar in my head. But they played really well, went back and forth. So I'm interested to see what Cold-Blooded Krillerz decides to do for their first pick that they get to do here.
Now, what I'm interested in seeing is like, what is CBK going to do to try and change the situations? Because when the fights were going back and forth, it just inevitably fell to Pythonic's favor. But as we saw at the very end of Game 1, the full team wipe where CBK had full control, they took advantage of every second they were in advantage. If they can give themselves the opportunity to do that again, I feel like the tides will once again fall into their favor because they don't win the battle of aggression.
I completely agree. It looks like, from what I can tell from over there, they've picked tower control on the Reef. And as we've seen them play so far, Cold-Blooded Krillerz have done a really great job playing on tower control. So I'm interested to see how they decide to do this and, what they pick, if they, change up any of their weapons or kind of continue in the way they've been going.
All right, Pythonic leading with the same loadout, in fact, from previous. CBK, not too big of a change as we move forward. I'm just curious to see, what's the game plan that we're going to see from both of these, because the Reef is not a map that lends itself well to battles of aggression. This could have been a really solid map choice in the favor of CBK, just to at least throw Pythonic off their rhythm.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that this is kind of what they've been looking for. That you're right, that maybe this was a, hey, let's pick this because, maybe it'll throw them off a little bit. But so far, it looks like CBK is getting the picks that they need right now to begin their first push. So I'm wondering if Uncle can get this pick that they're going for towards that Pythonic player there. But the bubbles come out and just stop the tower in its tracks.
Now, we brought this up earlier the last time we saw the Reef on stream, where this map, because of changes given to it, it's not nearly as snowbally as previous, but I feel like this map mode combination lends itself to that traditional line of thought where if your team has solid control, you can snowball very well on the Reef.
Yeah, it definitely still has that opportunity. I think anytime you're playing tower control, when you have a couple of opportunities for members to go down, it can snowball very quickly. So right here, 3-down situation on the side of Pythonic. So this is really where Cold-Blooded Krillerz needed to be in a better position to take control of tower and push forward, but they're not. It took them that whole time, and by now, everyone has respawned, and Pythonic is working their way back to mid.
Good amounts of ink down. However, it's a very slow battle forward for CBK if they're going to try and take out the Reef here. They're going to need to find themselves in more situations where they get these triples, where they establish full whites, and that's what they're doing over and over again. Pythonic constantly finding themselves in a situation where they only have one player up, and they're not able to control the map well like that. They're just marching onto their death, and this is what CBK needs to establish dominance in the set.
Yeah, I think that they're definitely working on getting the picks that they want, but, it's just taking a little bit too long, a little bit longer than they're maybe hoping for. So right now it looks like, oh man, that little sneaky Chris right there hiding in the corner, and if they hadn't done anything, I don't think Gundam would have seen him at all. As tower resets to mid, this is where CBK just needs to do a little bit of cleanup, make sure that they have more map control, because right now it doesn't look like they have enough for them to move confidently throughout the map.
Ink control is finding itself a bit more sporadically. It's just very much like whose ground belongs to who right now. There's not a lot of avenues of movement. However, the little bits of orange ink that allow CBK to maneuver themselves into flanking position, I feel like it's going to be vital for at least controlling center stage as the point returns to that, and as Pythonic tries to push the point forward. As you established earlier on, controlling center stage is pivotal to every aspect of the Reef, and I feel like this game mode especially so.
I completely agree. I think, where it used to be that the old Reef, you had to control top mid, that bridge. Now I think you don't really need that as much. You just need to have a little bit of an opportunity to be able to get through the map, whether that's underneath the bridge or over the bridge. But if you can't move through the map confidently, you're not going to be able to stop the tower. So really it's just about Pythonic coming back in and being able to stop this push, because they had pushed it all the way to 9 for cold-blooded Krillerz. So, Pythonic just needs to come together and really be able to get the picks they need to stop it.
Unlike the previous 2 games, because the way the momentum of this game is sat heavily with CBK, it feels a bit more of a daunting task for Pythonic to press this forward. They're going to have some very convincing plays over the next minute, 10 seconds if they're going to try to make this a win for themselves.
I agree. Beautiful blaster work here. So if they can get that nice pick and they get away from that torpedo bomb a second, working on this slasher machine, I mean, we've seen that Chris is really forced to be reckoned with on that machine. So maybe it's a 2v1 situation can help a little bit, but Chris jumps out to live another day. So this is where Pythonic needs to get on the tower and be ready to continue to move that push. They can't even break through that first checkpoint, unfortunately.
Yeah, decent awareness from that player of Pythonic, because I knew without cover, there was no point in being on top of the tower. They just tried to touch to keep it from moving. However, it just wasn't enough time for them to coordinate themselves. Last 30 seconds coming in, and CBK is sitting pretty to take this game 3.
Definitely. This is really where they're just kind of looking for. Looks like Maz is working on just like building a special, sharking. Oh, they have their special, waiting for the tower to be in position where they can pop up. This looks like it is. Inkjet comes out, double Stingray and Bubbles, all 4 specials at once. Man, that was good.
Huge control, and this is the kind of coordination we've seen from CBK before. It's just not met with the proper aggression from Pythonic, and because of that, Game 3 is not over just yet.
Yeah.
Spoke a little too soon as we hit into overtime.
This is pretty interesting
there
here.
We go.
Yeah. I was going to say they have a lot of time they needed to push that forward in order for them to take that game, but they played really, really well and made it very difficult for cold-blooded Krillerz to really knock it out. So great job there, and I'm really excited to see what they decide to do for their counter pick.
No, given the momentum of this map going back and forth the way that it did, like, this is the kind of play I was expecting of CBK. Like, they clenched down on the plays that they knew they were going to be able to go for stronger wipes, and they just kept on going for those stronger wipes, the doubles, the triples. We didn't get a chance to see the full wipes, but going for a point where they knew that Pythonic couldn't coordinate themselves for more convincing plays was all CBK needed.
I completely agree. I think that once they were able to do that, then they were in a much better position. So I'm interested to see what they decide to pick for this next one, on what Pythonic decides to pick and where they feel their strengths lie.
There's just a mess of specials throughout a lot of this. All right, so we got word that Game 4 is bringing us to spot zones on Inkbot Art Academy. How do you feel about this particular map mode for Pythonic's choice?
I think it's a really interesting one. I think we haven't really seen Pythonic use a lot of specials that are going to, cover zone instantaneously. So I'm interested to see if they decide to bring something out like that, like bring out a Booyah Bomb or, Splashdown Baller combination, because it's a really difficult map to use something like that because there's that pillar in the middle of it. So it's going to be kind of fun to see what they decide to do, if they change their loadout at all, what, they want to play in terms of comp. And, hopefully they'll be able to bring us to a Game 5, which will be our first Game 5 today.
Yeah, from the change in loadouts from Game 1 to Games 2 and 3, we've seen that Pythonic can be pretty versatile in the weapons that they bring to the table. I'd be impressed to see if they come with a third loadout into this. And at the very least, I feel like the openness of this map is going to lend itself more to those even-handed fights we saw earlier, because that's really where Pythonic was winning things out. When they made sure that there was no particular advantage, was when they were able to press forward a lot more convincingly.
Yeah.
But we are going to be seeing the same loadout from both sides, in fact. But it's all in the execution. Let's see what we see for Game 4.
Looks like they Mist decided to go back to this junior instead of the Blah Blobber. I believe they were using the junior one of the other games we watched. But it's going to be, you know, this battle right away. 3 down on the side of Cold-Blooded Krillerz. That was right? Yeah. Very, very quick amount of picks for Pythonic to take this zone very fast in the beginning of this match. So great job there. Now they just need to defend it.
Yeah, if there's anything that we know about slot zones on Inkblood is that control of this map is never a certainty. Although the lead is definitely appreciated, Pythonic is going to have to be very aggressive with making sure that they can't get fallen back on, because triple down can happen to them just as easily. And control of this map, once established, there's so many ways to flank around it. It's very fickle.
Yeah, it definitely is, but that was really great. They were able to kind of take zones, make sure that they had it there, and working on figuring out, you know, what they're going to do as far as just keeping it, because they've broken the point down to 30. That's pretty darn good.
Yeah, this is a surprisingly convincing start to this game, and it is worth noting it just started, and we're already clocking down to the last 10 points needed for Pythonic. Plenty of purple ink coming down, looking to go for the stop, but it's just not enough. And there you go. We're going to go into our first Game 5 of the day.
Nice. A beautiful Game 5 happening. Really nice, very fast shutout on the side of Pythonic. So great job there for them. They should be celebrating a little bit.
You know, there really wasn't much of a fight for them in that one. We've seen CBK put out some pretty impressive play, but I'm not going to sugarcoat it, Melissa. That was a bit of a slaughter.
A little bit. I think that map can definitely make it a little bit frustrating if you aren't really sure where to position yourselves, and maybe that was the problem that CBK had there. But 3 clips here, that's all. I mean,
yeah, there's just excellent ink control, and every time CBK put themselves in position to try and turn the reversal, their ink was already gone. The area of control was yellow the entire time it needed to be, and no reversal really went anywhere. Game 5's taking us to Rainmaker Gobi Arena. I think this is a really solid choice from CBK. We saw how well they were able to control Gobi Arena earlier, and given the fact that Rainmaker takes advantage of the fact that this map is much more constrained, there's not a lot of avenues of movement here, this could be what CBK needs to at least limit Pythonic.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that this is going to be a really good one for them. You're absolutely right. We saw that they were really strong on Gobi earlier, so I'm looking forward to see what they decide to do here. Rainmaker on Gobi is a little more challenging than Splat Zones because you do have to move the Rainmaker a lot further up, and there's so much uninkable area when you get to the other side.
Yes.
The stairway, that kind of alleyway behind the main block there, you know, there's just a lot of different ways that you have to navigate that without being able to swim in your ink. So it slows you down a little bit. So I'm interested to see what they decide to do, if they decide to go up top, which is a little faster, if they can ink all of it, and, you know, how they decide to pick their loadouts here.
At least in regards to how these teams have been controlling space, CBK is a lot more, traditionally established. They're very much more movement oriented. They coordinate their plays well, and they can operate well individually. However, one thing that Pythonic has been able to express really well as a team is their positioning. I think Gobi Arena and its lack of inkable areas will not be a deterrent to Pythonic, because while not being able to move around as easily certainly hurts, the fact that they could still position themselves well and be very aware of how that positioning gives them the control that they want is all they really need. They don't have to worry about the fact that they can't swim as well. Nonetheless, we're going to go into it. We'll see if this map pick is what's needed or if Pythonic's going to be able to clutch it out here.
Yeah, our first 2v2 5-game set. Here we go.
All right, so we see the Blah Blobber returning, and I think this is a better stage than any to bring it back out.
I agree.
And I believe there's 52 gal on the side of Pythonic.
I think it's custom.
Ooh.
So Mist that's a triple for Mist right there. Nice job. Beautiful, beautiful job carrying that Rainmaker, looking to kind of continue to move forward, but that blaster right behind them unfortunately does take them out. Oh, that was the Inkjet, shot from the Inkjet. So great job for Pythonic there to be able to stop that push and really kind of what they're looking for now.
And given the nature of Rainmaker, this is not really a comfortable lead at all. It can be broken very easily. And in fact, just like that, it's going to get broken by nearly 2 points. But again, this can go either way very quickly. This is barely the first minute of the match. Ink still needs to find its way around the map. We still need to see how these teams are going to focus each other. But at least from the break, it's looking like a very aggressive start, and it's probably going to find its way funneling towards the quickest possible route to the podiums. I don't think teams are going to take too much advantage of the flanks just because they're not very good for positioning on this map in particular.
I completely agree. I think it's really difficult to be able to break through either of those when the other team is expecting you. So they really need to be paying attention to where the team is positioning. Their map awareness needs to be so on point for this. And you can see right away that CBK was like, hey, we're not going to let you just run away with this one. They made that first push. They got it to 68, which was great, but they need to continue to move forward. So, you know, it looks like they're doing that by moving far forward as they possibly can. They are able to get that lead, and they're still going even with that Stingray using a little bit of defense for them.
Yeah, they tried marching it up through the uninkable area. However, it is very slow movings, and if you can't press forward undefended, like, you're not going anywhere. And I feel like that's also a really dangerous spot to leave the Rainmaker because it can get reversed from very safely from there. It's not a position where you really need to worry about resetting, because it's just very well defended. It's a very isolated area. That's why I feel like the flanks on Gobi Arena don't lend themselves too well to Rainmaker.
I agree. It's a perfect area to have when you're late in the game and you have the lead and it's on your side because you're able to defend it really, really well. But the moment that team has an opportunity to push it out and, you know, continue to move forward, you're in a lot of trouble. So, and it looks like that's what we've been seeing here so far, going back and forth to as close to taking that lead as they possibly can. Pythonic is about to burst the Rainmaker shield, and they're pushing forward. If they can get up these steps, beautiful lead from them.
And with 49 at the edge of the second step over there, the leads on both sides are building little by little by little. I feel like at the rate things are going, this could very well fall to Pythonic's favor unless CBK establishes a really solid play very soon.
We still have 2 minutes left. This Stingray coming out from Chris is going to create some really nice cover, and they just need to be able to move that Rainmaker off. I'm not sure who's running it, but they seem to have a little bit of trouble getting up onto that block, and now they just need to be able to go up these steps and have the support of the rest of their team. We know Chris can slay, so if Chris can get the picks that they need to keep this Rainmaker moving forward, they took the lead.
He jumps up, bringing it towards the podium very
my
closely.
gosh,
He's
right
got
there.
the path, and he brings it down. Game 5 goes in favor of cold-blooded Krillerz.
Absolutely wonderful match. It was really those like little bits that they were able to get through, having that podium already pre-inked, and look at them popping off. So this was a really fun set of games to watch.
A very well-deserved pop-off. Very back-and-forth play, very dangerous. They needed to break apart from this if they wanted to do anything in this game, and with a very solid push paved by the Stingray, they nabbed a really good cap out on that one.
Absolutely wonderful. And I believe at least one, maybe two of the members of the team on Cold-Blooded Krillerz is new to Long Island Splat. So it's always really nice to me also when we have someone come to one of our locals and they're new here and they're able to just have a really good time. You could see that they're having fun, they're getting along with their team really well, and that's the most important part to me.
And on top of that, getting a chance to play on stream on a stage like that, and now you get to take this VOD home, you get to show this to whoever you want, because this is really solid play on all halves. This was not an easy win for Cold-Blooded Krillerz.
Oh no, this was absolutely wonderful play from them. And the production quality here at Gen Game is absolutely awesome. Anne has everything that they need to make sure that Gen Game puts out a wonderful stream. And you can just watch this and say, hey, that was my gameplay. You know, this is what I'm capable of. When you're ready to move on, if you become a free agent at some point or whatever you need, you know, you have some really great clips to show.
You're too kind to us, Melissa. As we get a chance to look over these replays, we get to see back and forth how well both Pythonic as well as Cold-Blooded Krillerz was able to stop a lot of these flanks. We saw a good amount of times players from both sides were trying to clench down, but they just never got a strong opportunity. It was only really towards the end, the Stingrays that came out that really held a difference. And I honestly felt Pythonic was able to lock down CBK very well with their own Stingrays. They established enough of a proper push, but it ended up being CBK and their own Stingray that really paved the way for them.
Absolutely wonderful job there. Really, really great games to watch today. So I'm so excited to see everything else that we have coming forward. This was that Stingray that really sealed it for them. Chris using that Stingray, coming around, using the slashing machine, gets one pick, gets a trade actually, and that's what made it possible for them to kind of dunk that Rainmaker. So really great job. I'm sure everyone's going to be up congratulating each other in just a minute, and this has just been so much fun so far.
T-Max, can you roll back the final play once more? All right. No, the only reason I want to is just because even though the Stingray itself is what really pushed for that play to happen, I just want to bring attention to Mist's movement during that play. So take note of how Mist goes around his team to take it above. The firefight focus is on Chris. Pythonic is making sure that he is good as dead. Look at the name tag from Mist as he leaps over the rest of the fight. There's no focus on him. And the Stingray from Pythonic comes out defensively too late. As Mist already has his pathway secured for him to get to the podium, there's very little ink to stop his movement. He comes through the ramp, and he's already set. He even has Maz defending him if need be.
And look at right there, you can even see on the podium that kind of vertical line. That's from that Stingray that Chris used earlier. So, Chris was using it as an offensive move to be able to cover as Mist kind of move forward. It also painted the podium, so no one needed to do that. Great, forward thinking from Cold-Blooded Krillerz right there, and absolutely wonderful play today.
All right, and with that, that's going to bring us forward as we go towards round 4 of play. We're going to have Invertebrats. I love the pun names. I have to say this every time. Splat Kids and their puns make it a pleasure every time. And they're going to be playing off against Demise. But that'll be after we return from break. So make sure to stay tuned because we still have plenty of top-level play to look forward to as we go through the rest of Long Island Splat 4.
See you soon.